I'm a weird hire for Young Life. I'm a car salesman, and it cracks people up when I say that. But we felt called back to Eastern Kentucky. We came here, and we start looking at like, okay, God, what are some of the needs here? And there's a lot. There's a lot we could have done.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance of Martin County. Beyond just providing insurance, they are dedicated to protecting our local families from difficult financial situations when life happens. We want to thank them for everything they do for our community and for supporting our mission to be a resource for youth workers and the families they serve. To learn more, please visit the team at your local Martin County office or call 606-298-7721.
What if our young people in Eastern Kentucky didn't have to grow up alone? What if they had a safe place to belong? What if they had a few caring adults that just wanted to see a young person's faith grow? Well, today's guest is helping make sure that that happens right here in Eastern Kentucky. Do you know who today's guest is? Let's get into the episode and find out. Welcome to Me and Poverty, a podcast about breaking barriers, building bridges, and changing lives, one story at a time. So today's guest is a new friend of mine. We recently met over Zoom or Google Meet, whatever it was, but I got to hear a little bit about his ministry, his organization, and we talked a little bit about the work I'm doing to impact our youth in Appalachia. I was very, very impressed with today's guest and the work that he's doing in Eastern Kentucky. So today's guest is my new friend, Brady Kelly, and he is with a nonprofit here in Eastern Kentucky called Young Life Eastern Kentucky. And I cannot wait to have him discuss what the work he's doing and the impact he's making in not only the youth in our communities, but families at the end of the day. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the show my dear friend, Brady Kelly.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to do this today. And, you know, the name of the podcast, obviously, is Me and Poverty. So I cannot help but wonder, and I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask every guest to start this show. What is your relationship with poverty, Brady?
Yeah, so I grew up, lower middle class. My parents were working two jobs, and so we never went without. I watched how hard they worked. I recognized that, and I had a lot of friends who didn't have the same story. I've seen a little bit of everything, and it's a big issue in our area, and Young Life wants to reach every kid, and especially the kids who grow up in hard situations.
I've been seeing some of the activities that you all are doing, even on your Facebook page, and I'm very encouraged by you all because you're just it seems like you're doing just super practical ministry. Like, it doesn't need to be super fancy. I think you just got back from fall camp not too long ago, right? Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, we went with other Young Life areas all over Kentucky. So there's 500-600 high school students down there. And we went to Country Lakes in Underwood, Indiana, and we had a blast. We took 10 students with us. We had a freshman student come to Christ, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's too cool. It's too cool, man. And that's kind of a new spin on church camp. You know, I really like that. Maybe not so much in the sticks. Did you all rough it, or was it like, did you have a cool setup? Or
it was great. They had great facilities, great dorms. And it was fun, man.
It makes ministry a lot easier when you have AC or heat, or so that's good, man. How did for our audience, tell us a little bit more about what Young Life is, maybe from like a mission standpoint, that sort of thing, and then how did you get connected to them?
Yeah, so Young Life's mission statement is to introduce students to Jesus Christ and help them grow in their faith. You kind of pointed to it earlier, we're not flashy. What we do is really simple, but we believe that every single student deserves to hear the gospel. And we do that, and we get to share the gospel with them because we go where they are. We don't wait for kids to come to us because kids aren't coming to us or the church, right? We go to them. And we build relationships. We use the language of earning the right to be heard. We share the gospel. We do this by weekly club events. So club is we'll do like a trivia night, or we say club is a party with a purpose. We get in there, have fun, and they're going to hear the gospel. A lot of times it's the first time. And then we have weekly Bible studies where we are helping kids grow in their faith, and we want to develop and disciple them and teach them to reach their friends.
You've got me thinking back even. What's the kind of middle age range for you all? What's your typical age?
Yeah, so Young Life there's a lot that we offer. So we've got middle school ministry up through college ministry. We're not there yet. We've got a presence at Adams Middle School and Prestonsburg High School.
You got me thinking my time back getting my undergrad degree and different ministries that my now wife and I participated in at Alice Lloyd. And there was a high school ministry that used the same facility that we did on the same night. Just they had a 6, maybe 7 p.m. service, and we had a 8 or a 9 p.m. service. So we would always catch them leaving, and we get to see some of the cool stuff that they were doing. And man, the impact made. And then lo and behold, 4 years later, when I'm graduating, I see the same kids, freshmen, that are just still connected. And it's all due to those ministries that got them when they were freshmen in high school. You're kind of walking along with them long term. You plant the seed early, and then it just sprouts and grows. And it's cool to see, man. What you're doing truly matters. And in case you don't get told that enough, which you probably don't, but so. At the beginning, you talked a little bit early on there, Brady, about your experience growing up, and maybe not necessarily from like the financial poverty, and most of my guests aren't, but man, they've just got a heart to serve those that are, and that's the coolest thing in the world. Can you lean into maybe talking about your early experience with faith, and did you have a mentor, and what role did the church play for you early on?
Yeah, so, like I said, I grew up with, my parents were hardworking people, really good people. Church wasn't a part of what we did. They certainly would encourage it, but it's not something we did as a family. And, from a young age, I remember always looking for something to fulfill me. I remember being really young and understanding something's missing. And I tried to fill that with a lot of different things. It started with sports in school. And in 8th grade, it started to be alcohol, drugs, and things like that. And, like a lot of kids around here, right? It's easy to...
I've got a story even in my book that talks about when I was a freshman in high school, and that was when I looked to my brother for guidance. We were playing backyard football and hanging out with a group of guys we probably shouldn't have been. And lo and behold, pills started coming out of nowhere, like Tic Tacs. And I looked to my brother for guidance. Should I be doing this? What do you think? What do you think? And, he let me down that day. And sadly, it's a tradition here almost. But I appreciate you bringing that up as far as your testimony goes. I can relate.
Yeah, and I, in high school, I started going to this youth group. And this guy named Ben Stevens, who is a teacher at Johnson Central and a pastor in Painesville, man, he loved me well, and he shared the gospel with me, but it didn't quite click. I lived a double life in high school. I had my church friends, I had my party friends. Got to college, EKU, and severely depressed and anxious. And I met a guy named Reuben Watson, who was just a young guy. He was a junior in college, and he knew Jesus and wanted other people to know Jesus. And he started to share the gospel with me. And sometime that semester, I don't have a date that I can't give you an exact date like some people can. It clicked, and my life changed, man. And I left Eastern Kentucky thinking I'd never come back here. But pretty quickly after becoming a Christian, I knew the Lord was calling me to come back home eventually and do ministry.
I appreciate your vulnerability and explaining your journey, man, of how you get there, right? I hope you're enjoying this episode of Me in Poverty. I just wanted to take a quick second and tell you about our Season 2 sponsor, Appalachia Reach Out, or ARO for short. Founded in 1972, ARO is a ministry in Eastern Kentucky devoting their time and effort to being Christ's love in action. Based in Martin County, but also serving Perry County, Kentucky, and Scioto County, Ohio, ARO supports families by meeting basic needs through their food pantry, their thrift store, while also partnering in addiction recovery, education, and community development through their work and witness teams. Fun fact, we've even had Appalachia Reach Out's Executive Director, Dwayne Mills, on this podcast before. So please go check out that episode last season. I'm going to have a link to ARO's website in the description of this video. Guys, I'm sure they would love your support, whether that be financially or volunteering your time. With that being said, let's get back into the episode. For those that are maybe curious about ministry, and I've interviewed a pastor for this season as well, but what is like specifically Young Life landing there? How did that happen?
I'm a weird hire for Young Life. I'm a car salesman, and it cracks people up when I say that, but we felt called back to Eastern Kentucky. We came here and we start looking at like, okay, God, what are some of the needs here? And there's a lot. There's a lot we could have done. There's not a lot for disinterested teens going on. There's a lot of great youth groups that are shepherding kids well and discipling kids, and praise God for that. But there's not a lot for disinterested kids. We were going to start our own nonprofit. I had bylaws written up, and I called my friend who worked for Young Life. I was like, they do student ministry. So I called him and said, hey, what do y'all do exactly? Ended up me being hired by Young Life because Young Life had resources we would never have. So that's kind of how we got hooked in with them.
Yeah. How big is Young Life?
So Young Life's in 100 countries. It's in all 50 states. It's massive. We own and operate 32 summer camps in the country, and I don't know how many in the world. So it's a really big organization. It started in Gainesville, Texas in 1948.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know it was that old. That's really interesting. So, yeah, I could see when you're looking down the barrel of what path do you take, I guess, and creating your own thing, man, it's a bear to tackle, right? And maybe you could get great resources, but man, you're looking at usually years, right? So
Sure.
I could see the decision that you made. I think it's pretty wise, but who knows what the future might hold for you, you know? Let's do more of a fun question. So let's say you've dropped all the kids off. You've had a long weekend or a long day, whatever. Maybe you were at the skating rink or you had a pool day or whatever. You took them to a concert. Like, what is your go-to fast food meal?
Ooh, man. So here, I love. It was made to crave fast food.
It's heavenly.
It's so good.
I mean,
I love it.
Yeah. Made to crave is a good. Do they have a drive-through?
They do in Prestonsburg. I don't know about the other two.
Yeah. Man, I've only ate the one in Prestonsburg. And,
so good, bro.
Dude, it's a good time. I was there. When was that? I don't know. It's probably, well, now it's been a couple of months. I started to say just a couple of weeks ago, but it's been a couple of months at this point. So that's cool. If someone shadowed you for an entire day, what would maybe surprise them about your mission, your work that you're doing? What would maybe surprise someone from the outside?
I think they'd be surprised at how simple it is. It's, you look at Jesus, what he did with people is he had a group of men and he did life with them. He ate with them. It wasn't all spiritual. The main thing we do, Joseph, is relational. It's having. So I think they'd be surprised at how simple it is.
When you mentioned going after disinterested youth, I can't help but think about Jesus going to the well and sure enough gets to minister. You treat somebody with kindness in the middle of a hot day when they're at a well that they shouldn't even be at and all these things. I think sometimes just treating someone with kindness is a ministry in and of itself, and it tears down walls, and there's no shame, there's no guilt. That opens a lot of doors. When you're focused on, hey, let's build a relationship first, that's a good ministry, man. That's a good life. I've been following your Facebook for months now, and I've seen quite a few different events that you all do put on. I mentioned a few of those earlier, but why is it important to you and your organization that you all have variety and that you have different options for the youth that you're serving?
Yeah, I think so. Around here, you grew up in Martin County. I grew up here in Painesville. We hung out in the plaza on weekends. We didn't have anything to do, right? So that's certainly, we want to provide fun things. Let kids be kids. Right, and that's important to us. And they come out, have fun, and we get to share the gospel with them too. But we want to provide kids a safe place to be kids, and that's why we love it. We try to do something every month. We're hosting a trivia night next week, and just give kids a chance to be kids.
I see in the work I do quite often that a lot of these kids, it's more and more the case that they have an absent parent or parents. and they're having to grow up so stinking fast, man. And I'm reminded I was 10 years old knowing that my grandmother was exhausted all the time for raising me and my 5 brothers. So I would intentionally be the one that set the alarm clock at 10 years old to get me and my older siblings up for school. I know I'm not the only one. I'm no one special. Back then it was a little less prominent, but nowadays it's not, unfortunately. And reminding them it's okay to be kids, because there's a lot of issues that come up when these kids grow up too quickly. And I've seen a lot of that when I worked at a crisis unit and that sort of thing too for kids. And I love that aspect. Just let them be kids, man. God's got a natural way, I think, of ministering when you allow that to happen in a safe space.
Yeah, I agree. And our founder, he's quoted saying that it's a sin to bore a kid with the gospel.
So I know the challenge of being in ministry, so myself, I know the challenge of like balancing the fun, letting them just be kids, and the challenge of, let's mix in the devotional, the Bible study, the XYZ, different parts of ministry. How do you do a good job of kind of meshing it all together for a youth event? Any advice there or based on your experiences?
Yes, I think it comes back to relationships. Kids are going to be receptive to what you're saying if they know that you care. If you're not coming in guns blazing. We're very serious about the gospel. And talking about the gospel, you have to talk about sin. And we don't shy away from that. We can't. We owe these kids the truth, right? But I think if you're relational and they know that you care and they know that you're going to love them no matter how they respond, they're going to be receptive to what you're trying to teach them.
That's a good point. There's a classic saying, I forget who it was, but before someone can care about what you say, they need to know you care. I think that sums it. That might have been like a Maxwell or something. I can't remember, but that's a good point. And I love is it donuts and devotionals?
Donuts and devos.
Yeah. We all know the way to a kid's heart, especially here in Appalachia, where oftentimes they go without. Man, you got to feed them first, right? That draws them in. Us as adults, we're no different, right? You get a bigger crowd when there's chicken and dumplings on Sunday, and it's just the way it is, yeah. What events for you have had maybe some of the biggest turnouts, loudest, most engaged students? Maybe for anybody that's looking to do something similar, what would you tell them?
Yeah, our pool party was a blast. We had 80, 90 kids there. 80s skate night was a big hit. That's something we're going to do every year. Kids just want to have fun. And I'll go back to, relationships. I love all that. I love the events, but what I love more is, we had 8 kids around our dinner table last night. That's the good stuff. Have kids to your house. Have kids over. There's a book that everybody should read by Rosaria Butterfield called The Gospel Comes with the House Key. And that's kind of our strategy.
I'm reminded of our VBS this past summer, and we did a pool party to finish it off, which for us was really easy because the pool is right across the road from our church here in Inez. And, dude, that day we had more kids and families show up for that than I've ever seen at a VBS program. Yeah. And just jamming Christian music, treating kids with respect and dignity for themselves. And, you prep them ahead of time. Hey, teens, this is how we're going to dress and that sort of thing, of course. But yeah, a lot of smiling faces that day. And there's still kids that are connected now, 6-7 months later, that weren't at all before that day, So you're a bit of a sports guy, similar to me. What role do like sports games and stuff like that play in your all's ministry? I think I've seen a little bit of that too. What's your thoughts?
We go to every game we can. We want to support these kids, but also just love watching sports, right?
Yeah, it's a win-win, man. How can you go wrong with that?
We want to support these kids. We want to be there for them. We want them to see adults in the stands who care about them, and it's a huge part of what we do. And we get to meet their families through the games.
You show those parents that you really care about the kiddos, and they're going to be champions for you, man, and kind of send them back your way. I would assume, that was always the case with me when I was coaching elementary school girls, and you show those parents that you're just a big brother, and dude, they'll be your best friend, So who's more competitive, middle or high schoolers in your opinion?
Ooh, man, it's hard. Probably high schoolers. I mean, I don't know. Middle schoolers are still trying to form their identities and stuff, so they really don't want to lose. I don't know. That's a toss-up.
The funnel, right? Let's be honest. Sports teams, there's a natural funnel process that seems to happen from middle to high school. You either get serious about sports or you get out, or you switch. So it's been a toss-up for us too. I will say I've got a freshman at our church, and I teach our teen Sunday school, and this guy, dude, he would compete to race me to the church van. I'm pretty sure. He's always comparing basketball shoes with me. I intentionally will wear ball shoes to church now, just to lean into that a little bit with him. And so high school's pretty competitive on my end. So what would you say to a student that is maybe interested in faith, but maybe they haven't had the best experience in the past with a church, or maybe they've felt hurt previously? Would you have any advice to them?
Yeah, I think a lot of people experience church hurt. We have too, right? But I would just invite them in to a relationship with us. Like, church is a barrier, and Young Life's not trying to be the church. We can't replace the church. We want to connect kids with the local churches. But a step could be, hey, come eat chips and salsa with us and let's talk about faith. The Lord takes care of that. The Lord heals church hurt. I've seen it happen over and over again. Now, we need to do better at not hurting people. We don't want church hurt to be an issue. But the Lord takes care of that, man.
End of the day, I kind of subscribe to the idea of, I'm not a big fan of the term religion and that sort of thing. And I'm definitely relationship over religion, since Jesus came onto the scene. And you've kind of alluded to a lot of that in your talk, and that relationship can solve a lot. And I've seen a lot of kids that not just hurt from a church, but from a family member that, and I even talk about it a lot regarding my grandfather. And, we had a rocky relationship, and he sang and he traveled all over the tri-state area, at least, singing in churches. And he had a lot of issues and a lot of hurts and hang-ups and past experiences that, man, he would act out a lot. And he'd talk one way to us on the way to church. And then, he'd pull in the parking lot and kind of put the face on. And so I feel like I've heard of quite a bit of that as well. And even when I used to counsel students more, it was, you mentioned having a relationship with Jesus, and they're like, yeah, I've seen what that is already. And I'm like, yeah, but we're all imperfect. We all make mistakes. You can't compare your relationship to someone else's, right? You've just got to get that for yourself. Jesus can heal all things in his way, How do you handle those tough questions from our youth who may be suffering or confused or have doubt? How do you directly deal with those?
First of all, to start with, it's okay to have questions. And Jesus can handle their doubt. And Gen Z's asking a lot of questions. They're asking, is God good? Am I enough? Things like that. They're asking really hard questions. And sometimes we don't have the answers. And sometimes we have to be like, I don't know the answer to that. Let's look at that together. I think admitting that you don't know something is fine. And rather than saying something crazy and it not being the truth.
That's very fair. There's comfort in community, I think, right? You show them that you're not perfect and that you don't have it all together and you don't have all the answers, and that kind of lets the guard down a little bit, man. They're like, oh, okay, well, you are more relatable. Let's dig into that. So I could definitely see that being the case. What have you seen from maybe the first time that a student visits Young Life to maybe months later, or what are you seeing that transition look like for maybe a teenager?
Yeah, I think it's just, you see barriers come down, right? There's a barrier between me and a kid, like, who's this 30-year-old man hanging out at school?
Why does he want to invite me to his house?
And then, you get past that barrier, and
of course.
Jesus is a barrier, and you start talking about Jesus, and we've seen kids come to faith, and then the church is another barrier. But what I love seeing is when kids are coming to faith and then getting involved with different local churches. That's the biggest win for us is you just see barriers come down.
You know, a lot of my students in my teen Sunday school class, a lot of them are in foster care. And I'd never name names or anything like that, but man, they've got trust issues, rightfully so. And, you know, it's taken me literal months and months of just consistency, just showing up, right? Because they're used to abandonment and being left and all those horrible things that I'm sure you see some of it too. Yeah, consistency is where it's almost like you see, one, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. But I think a better example is you got a big boulder that's in the way and you need to get rid of it, but you got to break it up into small parts, but you just can't figure out how to do it. But over time, if you were to just let water drip on that boulder, it's going to form a big crack. And then it can be broken and removed. I visualize that with the kids that we're serving. You know, it may take a long time of just dripping, of just showing up, just consistent drippage, right? Like to make an impact. And so it's cool when they do stick around, right? Yeah, you get to see those barriers come down. And what would you say is the most, or maybe the funniest thing that's ever happened during like a devotional with a youth or a group at your house? What's something funny that's happened? Do you got any of those stories?
Yeah, there's a lot. My favorite though is I have a friend in high school named Jerry, and Jerry's afraid of heights. And at camp, the room we were in at summer camp last year was 4 bunks high.
Oh gosh.
Jerry gets up to the top and is like freaking out. Can't get down. You know, I'm
Poor
like,
Jerry.
Poor Jerry. And I'm like, dude, let me show you. I get up there. I'm like, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. I fall down.
No.
I bit it, and it was awesome. It hurt, but
ouch.
It was a funny moment. I got up there. I was like, okay, I kind of see what you're saying now. So
it's a bad time to be humbled, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not want to eat that crow all the way up there. You know?
Yeah.
If a student sees this one day, maybe even one of your students that you work with on a regular basis that you're serving, they feel alone. Brady, what do you want them to know?
Yeah, that they're not. That it's that they are loved. That they have insane value and worth. That they're made in the image of God, and that we're here for you. And no matter how you respond to Jesus, we're here for you. You know, we hope that you know and love Jesus and walk with him for a lifetime, but we love you.
And what about, maybe you faced this, probably. Have you ever had a kid say, church just isn't for me?
Yeah, for sure.
What's your response to that student?
But I don't know.
That's good, right?
I would say, Jesus fixes that, right?
Mm-hmm. This ideal that you've got to, when you go to church, like perfect people go to church, you know, that's the thought. So it's almost like, yeah, me either.
Yeah. And it's the church is full of messy people.
Yeah.
Even our pastors have been preaching are being made new, but they're not perfect yet, right?
And I think that's a good point to make, is just leveling with them and like, why do we go to church? What's the point in it? It's not to just show up and put on this facade and pretend like we're perfect people. That's not the intention. That's not why it's there, you know? And I think that's a good conversation to have in those moments. And you've got me thinking about some of my kids over the years, and specifically my old ball team. And dude, I fought tooth and nail to get them into the 4 walls of our church, right? Just so I could, you know, speak life into them more, especially, little girls, right? A lot less of being, you know, we'd take them to movies and that sort of thing as a team, do team events, but to try to reach them. And I'm reminded of these especially these kids that are poverty stricken, and they just feel like, you know, they don't have the clothes or the shoes, they're not perfect enough. And anyway, I brought myself down a memory lane there. For anyone interested, how can someone get connected? And I can put this in the description later, but how can someone get connected with Young Life?
Yeah, if you're a student, we meet every Thursday at our house for club, and it's a little bit different every week, but we get together, have a meal together, look at scripture, and just hang out. Donuts and Devos every Thursday, and every Tuesday at Adams Middle school, we do that.
I've gotten to work in Floyd County quite a bit lately, and I've worked and partnered with the Green Dot ladies, and so I've gotten to meet a lot of those kids, man. And it's really cool that you're in that area. And these kids need us, man. Does it cost anything for your all services for anyone that might be curious?
Yeah, so I mean, all the stuff we do in town is free. We don't charge kids anything. The only thing that has a cost to it is our summer camps. Be very clear with this. That's not going to be an issue. If that's an issue, we will take care of that. We have donors who partner with us to send kids to camp and to help these kids.
What about maybe transportation hurdles? Do you have any help for those students? I'll give you an example too. You know, we have a gym at our church, and we got some of our kind of church community together to shoot some basketball one day. And I asked one of my teens, were they coming? And they said, well, no, my foster mom doesn't really take us places. And I was like, oh. Yeah, we got to fix that. Yeah. But those scenarios, maybe for those kiddos, my grandparents never let me go anywhere. We were there's 6 of us. It was hard to keep us all wrangled up, but any advice transportation wise for these students that might be interested in your services?
We've got people that'll get you here. We've got volunteers that have gone through. Only thing we don't do are our background checks, like a hair sample. They've all been volunteers. We will get you here. If you want to come, reach out. We would love to hang out.
If a student could know just like one word that describes you personally as the area director for Young Life Eastern Kentucky, what would that one word be that sums you up?
Encourager.
I think I did this at one point. Maybe I'm off. I could be wrong. At one point, I was looking up, what does my name mean? Like, where does it come from? What's the root? All of that. And I think it means to be an encourager. So it's funny you say that, man. And I'll be honest, not like putting myself on a pedestal. I'm far from perfect. But I'm very intentional about trying to be that for others. And I think that's where the difference is made, right? Like in these kids especially, you have to be. If your heart's not in that, your ministry's you're not gonna go very far, right? So on the hard days, what keeps you all going?
I would say on the hard days, remembering what Jesus has done for us through student ministry keeps us going.
You are best prepared to serve who you used to be. I heard that somewhere, and it haunts me, man. Like, it's my driving, What gives you the most hope about the next generation?
And Gen Z is special. And Gen Alpha, too. We hear a lot of negative about these kids, about how they're lazy, and I just don't think that's true. They are looking for something more meaningful. They long for something bigger. And that's a good place to start, is how much they long for authenticity. They want real relationships.
I see that even in the kids at our church that ask, can they sit in the pew with us, after Sunday school, and when we go downstairs. And you got me thinking, man. That's I think that's very true. I did a tour across Floyd County and a few other schools, but talking about trusted adults and the role that trusted adults play in our youth's lives. What are some of the biggest characteristics in your mind of a trusted adult for the youth of today?
Yeah, that's a good question, because Young Life is a group of adults who love Jesus and love kids. And I think it starts there. It starts with loving Jesus and loving kids and having a desire. Anybody can be part of this. It doesn't take, you don't have to be some special person. Just be a person who wants to give back I think is a good place to start.
And I look forward to seeing how maybe we will be able to partner in the future. And if I can ever be of any help, man, you've got my heart with this ministry for sure. So, you talked about giving back and that sort of thing. For anyone that wants to financially support Young Life Eastern Kentucky, how could they do that?
Yeah, reach out to me. Reach out to us on Facebook, or me personally on Facebook. I can get you a link. We need donors. We need volunteer leaders, adults in the community who want to be on the front lines with these kids. And we need committee members. people to sit on our board. We want to take this to, my vision is to see this at every middle and high school in the 15th region. We need donors for that. We need leaders for that. So reach out.
Does Eastern Kentucky have a website that they can donate to on there, or no?
Yeah, it'd be a Young Life link. We're working on our own.
Well, and I'm sitting here thinking about like ARO, they make it super simple on their end. But I get it, dude. You're still kind of young. Young Life is Eastern Kentucky. All right, Brady, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and allowing me to interrupt your work day. And I know you're serving a lot. You've got kids, and I appreciate it, man. We need more people like you in our communities here in Appalachia, Central Appalachia, and Eastern Kentucky, for anyone that's not from our area. But I'm very grateful for you, my friend, and I'm grateful for the work you're doing for our youth. For anyone that liked today's episode, please like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on future episodes. And remember, keep sharing stories. See you in the next episode.